phenomenal, Sheree Collier. Yes, Sheree, you are phenomenal because I was there when she hosted Teach Me How to Summit. And if you guys didn't see it, yes, it was amazing. And I asked her here so she could tell us about her experience putting together this amazing event. And hopefully, if the replays are still available, you can all sign up to go see it. So, Sheree, please tell us about how you put together an amazing event.
Oh my gosh. Well, thank you so much for that warm welcome. Yeah, and thank you for having me here and, for participating in the event and, finding value in it. It was definitely a labor of love. Um, yeah, it was a labor of love. So teach me how to summit. Yeah, we just wrapped up, right? So we wrapped up that event. It was a 5 day virtual, I didn't want to call it a summit, but I called it a virtual event, but it was basically a big conference on how to teach people how to summit and scale. And that was like the whole idea behind it. And I do have some slides to share, but before I get into that, I wanted to just tell you a little bit about myself. So, my name is Sheree Collier. Thank you for joining me so much. Thank you. Eric, I'm glad you like the shirt. I have a couple of these. Just toss them on anytime I get on a live, because I always have virtual summit vibes. I love to plan virtual summits. I am the owner of the summithost.com, which is a website that I just like created. Again, another labor of love to be able to share this love of virtual summits and virtual events and event planning with the world. So I got into virtual summits in 2019 when I hosted my first summit. It was a 5 day virtual event, 100% pre-recorded, like super typical, right, for virtual summits, and it was just mind blowing. We had over 5,000 people who registered. And guys, this event was in the RV space. And it was about teaching people how to make money so that they could like jump in an RV and go travel around the US. And we had over 5,000 people register for this event. I had like 35 speakers. We had a lot of big sponsors. And I was just like, wow, like if you can answer a question for someone and you can do it in an event format where it's like entertaining, there's engagement, there's some live pieces going, like this could be even better because that event didn't have really any live pieces, and it was still amazing. So that's kind of where I'm coming from. I'm going to go ahead and share some slides with you so I can remember what I'm supposed to be here talking about. So, okay. Let me know if, oh yeah, I can see it right now. Okay, so I'll tell you a story, right? I was once a new small business owner with a very niche topic. That topic was RVing and working while you travel. Like me and my family jumped in an RV in 2013. And back then it was like this crazy idea, right? So we said, oh, forget about the 9 to 5, forget about the standard American dream. We are going to go create some memories with our kids. We have 4 kids. They were super young at the time, like 3, 6, and 9, and we just wanted to like get out and explore, right? We were from Georgia, we lived in Florida, but we'd never really been to these other, states. So we were like, let's go explore. Like nothing to lose at this point. So we jumped in an RV and we started traveling. Well, fast forward to like 2019, I've grown a community inside the RV industry. I'm working for an RV employer and I lose my job suddenly. And I was like, holy moly, what am I going to do? Because I just lost my biggest income stream. Like freelancing and this type of stuff wasn't going to pay the bills. And I was like, oh my gosh, I have all these people on my email list. Like, how am I going to monetize this? Because at this point, I think I had about 5,000 people on my email list, maybe a little bit less, maybe like 3,000 people on my email list. So I was like, what am I going to do? And boom, the idea to host a virtual event to answer the question of why I wanted to travel, which was like about how I wanted to travel, right? Like I want to travel and be able to work along the way. How am I going to do that? How are we going to fund this adventure? Because if we couldn't figure out a way to work remotely or however we were going to generate enough income to replace my job, then we were going to have to, go back and, hunker down somewhere. So I wanted to answer that question, but I also noticed a ton of people online in these Facebook groups were also asking that question. So I was like, oh my gosh, so I'm going to put together this event. I'm going to call it Make Money in RV. I'm going to talk to anyone and everyone who's out here traveling, and I'm going to figure out how they're making money on the road. And I'm going to get this information to like anyone and everyone who wants it, right? Because we can all ask questions on Facebook, but you can only go but so far in the comments section of a Facebook post. So I was like, I'm going to deliver this information, interviews and presentations, and I'm just going to, create this little library that showcases all these ways people can make money on the road. So we hit 10K on day one, and I went on to plan 13 different events after that. So right now I've planned 13 virtual summits and digital events. One of those was a hybrid event, which had a digital component, and then 3 in-person events that were in 3 different time zones. So that was 4 events going at the same exact time. I did 7 of those last year in just a 5-month span. So if you haven't got it yet, I love to plan digital events, virtual summits, and all this stuff. So if you have any questions, feel free to ask. Okay, so the reason I'm here is to talk about teaching how to summit. And this was the opening screen and the branding for the full event. It was very bright, very vibrant, and had a ton of energy behind it. Most of this was, guys, right now I live in the Pacific Northwest. We live in Seattle. We just came out of the winter, and I was in need of like something bright and something just, full of energy to just bring in the spring with. So a little bit of the branding came from that, right? Because I've been looking at gray skies for like months and I've just had enough of it. So I wanted something super bright. I was like playing around with a ton of different layouts for this, and honestly, looking back at some of them, they are hideous. So I was so thankful that this pulled together in the way it was. I kind of did the how to, with the straight out of Compton like format. And I was like, how am I going to bring this in? Is anyone going to get the reference to teach me how to Dougie? Like all the music, the intro music for our posts kind of played off of that. It was our own rendition of, the beat behind Teach Me How to Dougie. And we just kind of went with it. So we chose these colors. It was like a gradient. And then I knew like, okay, I'm using pink, purple, green, like teal, but I don't want it just to say like for women. I don't want to exclude men from it. So I had my husband in the back and I'm like, babe, would you click on this if you came across an event and it's like, teach me how to summit and you see like pink or purple, like, would you still click on this? He was like, well, let me see it, play it. And then, the music from Teach Me How to Dougie's there. And he's like, yeah, I would click on it. I would. And that helped me a lot, right? To think about the audience because I didn't want to just segregate the audience, like, teaching female entrepreneurs how to host a virtual summit. And I didn't want to segregate it like that. So I wanted to keep that in the back of my mind. So I always had him over my shoulder, like, yeah, yeah, this is good. This is good. Because you're not playing too much on the pink. I still feel comfortable. I think it's great, Sheree. So, and then he loved like the music, right? Like that brought like a little extra flair to it. So we just went full force with it. Everything had these colors, everything had the gradient. And we just kind of went full force. So all the graphics were branded, everything was branded. And we really played into the strengths of the Hey Summit platform. And we decked the whole thing out, the whole thing out. Anywhere we could put a graphic, we put a graphic. If there was a way to change a color, we changed the color. So it was a lot more effort than I would usually throw into a virtual event, but it came out so beautifully, like just engaging and just being part of the event, just stepping back as the host. It looked great to me. And I was just thankful that other people thought so as well. So it was a 5-day virtual event, right? And the whole goal of it was to teach people how to build an audience, increase your authority, and generate income in their business in one specific way. Like we can all do these 3 things. Like as business owners, we're all looking to do these things. and I was willing to teach you how to do these things, but only in one specific way. I just wanted to teach you how to do this by hosting a virtual summit. And that was what the event was aimed at. Like, we could have talked to all business owners. That wasn't really the goal. We were talking to people who were interested in using event marketing to do these things. So that was the gist behind it. And we just kind of leaned into it, right? Like, I would never consider myself like to be a master of every aspect of hosting a virtual summit. Like, there's promotion, there's branding, there's email copy, you're going to need a website. All these things come together to go into a virtual summit, a virtual event, digital conference, whatever you're going to call it. There's a lot of different pieces that come together in here. My specialty is pulling all these pieces together. I'm not the expert who's going to be like, this is how you write a landing page. This is how you brand out your summit. I think I just hit it home with this branding because I did do it myself, but that's not going to happen all the time. I think you have to like really be willing to get in there and play around or hire someone to do it. So I was willing to bring together people like my speakers to deliver that information. And when you're hosting a virtual summit, that's the goal, right? We want to take our attendees from point A to point B, and we're going to do that inside the sessions, the video sessions inside the virtual summit. So I ended up with like 23 speakers. We had 45 videos. Hey Summit was the title sponsor, and we ended up with 1,300 attendees. I'm going to say that was pretty good. I've never hosted a B2B summit before. Like, this is 100% my first B2B summit. Also, I was entering a new niche, right? So my main website was all about RVing. So I just 100% like shocked everyone when I came out and decided, oh, I'm going to talk to entrepreneurs and I'm going to teach people how to summit. Like, it was 100% out of left field. So this is a new audience, like starting from ground zero, starting 100% from ground zero. So if that's where you're at and you are like not an industry expert or considered an industry expert, but you know how to do your thing, I just want you to know you can 100% do this. You can 100% do this. A virtual summit will work in any niche for any audience. And you don't even have to have an audience to get one to be successful. So Erica was asking me before this session how I got Hey Summit to be the title sponsor. And that's such a fun question, but I know it's a real consideration. I reached out to them. And asked, like, I have never been afraid to get a no. It's just a no. And if you give me a no, I'll either come back with another suggestion or I'll move on and get someone else to do it. So if you are hosting virtual events, reach out to some people who make sense for that event and you ask them if they want to sponsor your event. You're never too small. Like I said, I didn't have an audience for this. I did not have an audience for this. And Hey Summit sponsored my event in a very magical way. Like, their sponsorship was a key component, right? Because I host out of the 14 events at this point. Out of the 14 virtual and hybrid events that I've hosted, I've used Hey Summit for 13 of those. I have one event that I have not used Hey Summit for, and I used AirMeet. So they can see in my dashboard how many events I've done, how much money those events bring in, how many people are coming into those events, right? Like, I think at this point I have like over close to 30,000 attendees that have come through a Sharee event. And when I reached out to them, I was very specific on what I wanted, on how I wanted them to help and support the event, because I'm not one for just hand me cash. Like, I think that cash definitely plays a huge part in, things like getting your Facebook ads or advertising or email promos paid for, right? Like, if you're going to reach out to influencers, you're going to get those people to provide a snippet or a banner ad in their newsletter. Yeah, you're going to need cash to do that. And I personally have always had sponsors for pretty much all of my events, and that's what their money goes to. But Hey Summit is a little bit different, because they are the summit hosting platform. And not only do I use them, but they have the audience that I'm trying to reach. So I wanted their sponsorship to include things like, we had a email promo that went out very early on, right? Very early on in the planning. I'm still reaching out to speakers, and Hey Summit has already started promoting my event, which is piece of the sponsorship. So I was very intentional about that. And I asked them, like, hey, I'm going to need you to send an email to your speaker directory, not to your list. We don't need those people yet, not yet. We need your speakers. And I want to, I put up a landing page and I said, hey, I want you to introduce the event to your speakers. And I want you to come and direct them to this landing page so that they can sign up. Because if they have an area of expertise, like I want to draw from your community, people who are already familiar with Hey Summit, right? You found Hey Summit and you signed up for their speaker directory. That means that you're interested, one, in their platform, and two, you're interested in speaking. So that means you are the person I'm trying to reach for my event. You may know how to do branding. I found actually a few people from Hey Summit to speak at the event. Lisa Wessner, who spoke about diversity and inclusion, came straight from Hey Summit. We had, I think, Amanda. She was doing branding and marketing. She came directly from Hey Summit. So that it actually really helped. It really helped. So that was one thing. Yeah, it was definitely a mutually beneficial partnership, right? Because they want people to come and use their platform. They're going to get a ton of free signups. I mean, their name is right there in the main logo of the event. That was part of, their benefit for being a sponsor. You're going to be plastered over everything. And we're not going to, really shine a light on other platforms because you are the title sponsor and we want to, give you your due. So that's what I'll say about that sponsorship. And then we had about 1,300 attendees, which, just flat out honest, is my smallest event, but not my least profitable event. So if you can imagine that. So this was the smallest number of attendees I've ever had at a digital event, but it did not, it wasn't at the bottom of the revenue and that I generated from all the digital events. So I was like, okay, this is different. You have to kind of adjust your mindset. And when I went in, I think this is my next slide. Oh no. Okay. Well, when I went in, I had my mindset on what I wanted to do. And I'm going to get to that slide here. No, I'm going to go to it right now. Okay, so here are my goals, right? So here are my goals for the event. I wanted to grow my email list by 3,000 people. I wanted to make collaborations. And that meant like, yeah, I want to work with Hey Summit down the road. We had some other, companies that were involved, like Hello Audio, they were giving out coupons and stuff like that, discounts to their program. I wanted to work with Hey Summit, do collaborations, future collabs with speakers. So I was like building my network. And then I wanted to provide value for those speakers by encouraging people in an authentic way to sign up for their freebies, right? So let me just go through this. I did not hit goal number one, and I was okay with that. About, let me see, after day one, when I saw the signups. So like day one, I think we had like 400 people sign up to the event like immediately. And I was, I was like, wow, that's pretty cool. But that is so much, like that is so far from where we need to be. I knew immediately, okay, Sheree, this is not going to be like a 3,000 to 5,000 person event. So you got to like rethink this. And I just had to get comfortable with it. So I was like, okay, you know what? This is the first time, it's a new audience. If I get 1,000 people, I'm going to be thankful and I'm going to be happy. So once we hit 1,300, I mean, we were celebrating. We were celebrating. So make some new connections. I reached out to people who I was not only interested in their service, like what they could teach at the event, because you got to keep that in mind the whole time, right? Like how you're going to get those attendees from point A to point B. That's going to be those little sessions in between, and your speakers are going to be the ones to deliver that information. So, yes, I needed people who could deliver the titles or the topics that I had outlined that were going to be key. But I also wanted people who I could relate to, people who I could see myself like working with in the future. And I promise you guys, my schedule has been so full these past few weeks. It's been amazing. So yes, that was something that was like, check, let's check that off. Future collaborations. Got to work with Hey Summit. Who knows, you may see more coming from Sheree and Hey Summit in the future. I won't say too much on that. And then I wanted to provide value for my speakers. So providing value from the speakers is like top of the list, right? If you want those collaborations and you want people to speak like nicely about your event, you have to make it great for them to participate. So for me, that was, I told my speakers, no, We're not pitching from the stage. Like no one was allowed to pitch anything from the stage. Don't mention a freebie. Don't mention a bonus. Don't mention a course or a product that you have coming up. Like, let me handle that. And I think that worked out very well because people who attended the sessions, they just got to get like the raw, just meat and potatoes. That's really gross when you think about it like that. But anyway, they just got the meat and potatoes. They just got the information that they came to that session to hear about, right? If they wanted to learn about branding, they just came and they learned about branding. They got a little bit of a speaker introduction, and then they got their session. If that session was like 37 minutes long, they got 35 minutes of branding training that they could then go use. And it was up to me and my co-hosts to get people to sign up for the freebies, which would then, lead to their, funnel. And it was our job to get people to cash in on their bonuses and that type of stuff. So we did our job, and this is how we did it. We did a free swag bag for everyone who signed up for the event. So I think this is kind of typical for virtual summits, at least the ones that I do. I've kind of wavered on this a little bit. Usually, before I was just doing a virtual swag bag if you paid for a ticket. So it didn't have to be like my biggest ticket, but you had to pay for a ticket to get a swag bag. And then I was like, this isn't really serving the speaker 100%. This is like, this is serving Sheree and the speakers who get some signups based on the smaller number, right, of people who are going to buy a ticket. You're never going to get 100%. Like we didn't get 1,300 ticket sales. We got a smaller percent of that. So I said, you know what? That's not really serving the speaker. Let's always include it as an incentive to drive those registration numbers up. And that is what we have done since then. So for this event, we were sitting at a 52% conversion rate until I shared it with 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 um with a group of RVers. Then that went down, and I was like, oh, I was kind of kicking myself because I was like, oh man, I just watered that down a little. But it was 46%. So 46% conversions, and everyone got a virtual swag bag. And it was full of stuff. There was tons of stuff in the virtual swag bag, and it was good stuff. Like I even included my virtual summit planner, which is 70 pages that like walks you through and guides you through like the first 5 steps, how to set up your tickets, what's going to be in it. Like that alone, we could have sold. That alone, we could have sold. I'm going to publish it. Like we could have just made money off of that. But we went the extra step and had our speakers toss in valuable, can't say that enough, items into the swag bag that it was like a no-brainer. Like, hello, if you hit our registration page, you're going to want to sign up and you're going to want to get in there because you're going to get so much. Like if you are thinking about your virtual summit, you're going to want this brainstorming worksheet. Like, how am I going to outline this virtual summit? Yes, I have something similar in my planner, but hearing different things from different people and seeing it outlined in different ways, oh, it's invaluable. So someone asked me this question, like, was I nervous about showcasing other people who are also in the virtual event or digital, digital summit space? And I said, no, not really, because if someone is resonating with me, then, they're going to choose me. And I'm totally fine with them not choosing me because I like to work with people and make connections that are authentic and that lead to future collaborations and just friendships down the road. But if it's not your person, you may have someone else at your event and it may be their person, and that's okay. That's okay. So I was totally cool with that because we had other virtual summit planners and strategists and, just a very broad range of people were involved as the speakers. So everyone got the virtual swag bag, and that was wonderful. Our speakers saw anywhere from the lowest speaker conversion, I think, was 115, maybe it was 116, something like that, 116 opt-ins that they got. And I was like, okay, that's great. If that's the lowest number that we saw for our speaker, and that person was so excited about it. She was like, oh my gosh. She was like, I got 115 signups from this event. And all she did was prepare a 30-minute presentation and come and chat with people. And she was super excited. So it was worth it for her. It was worth it for us. And it was damn sure worth it for the people who signed up and registered for that that swag bag. we also did an all access pass. And so I have this thing called the Summit Starter Kit, and it walks you through, like, there's a couple different pieces of it, right? So you have the project plan, which is my step-by-step project plan, and it's got like 425, I think 425 like check offable items that you're going to put into planning a summit if you're going to do it Sheree's way, right? So you could obviously scale that down, add to it, make it your own, all that good stuff. But it's really unique because you are getting my steps, but you're using it for your event. So you just type in your little date, like what's the first date of your summit? You type it in there, and it's going to generate all these dates for you. And it's going to say, hey, you need to start reaching out for your speakers on October 26th. And on October 27th, you're going to want to start building your speaker home base. And on October 28th, you're going to want to do this, So it gives you a step-by-step plan that you can edit and make your own. But it's huge because you're not starting from zero. Like, who wants to start from ground zero? Nobody wants to start from ground zero. So you get that, and you also get my organizer. So I have this incredible Airtable base, right? If you guys aren't using Airtable in your business, start today. It's a free platform. You don't have to pay for it. I don't pay for it. I just use the free one, and it does so much. Like, if you are that person who loves a good spreadsheet, like, it is for you. But that's how I track my virtual like event planning. So, I mean, the speaker, like, all their information is in there. It links to different pages. So I know, like, when I'm pitching speakers, I'm going to outline them in there, and I'm going to put all their information and what they want to speak about, what their topic is, what their freebie and all that is, right? Well, by the time I get over to the event page, I can then just click on their name, and it's going to populate in there. It's going to say, okay, I chose Erica Bates. She's going to speak about virtual summiteers, and it's going to populate what she's giving away. And then on the other page, it's going to show you like her dates and stuff. And it's just amazing. So this is part of this. And I was like, well, the price of the starter kit is like $299, but I'm going to put it in the all access pass, and we're not going to charge $299. We're going to charge $99, and it's going to come with a ton of other things. So the all access pass ended up being like over $3,000 worth of items that people would get for $99. But then we gave them like a little fast action, like bonus offer. Like, if you buy it, like if you register for my event and you land on this all access pass page and you choose to buy it within the first 15 minutes, like, you're going to get it for $69. So we saw a lot of people who were like, holy moly, like, well, let's get this. Like, because you're going to get the steps, you're going to get an organizer to put it in. Of course, you're going to get the planner, but then also all of these other bonuses were stacked in there. And one of them came from my co-host, and she is an amazing copywriter. Like, she writes to her people and she knows her audience, and she has this cute little membership, right? Like, the membership's $99. No, sorry. Her membership is $9. Nine. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, $9 for her email marketing membership. And it basically gives you an email every week that you can send to your list. And it's a template. And it's like the craziest thing. So she has done an amazing job with that. She's got like over 3,000 members in here, right? And I was like, Liz, I need you for this event because I'm not a copywriter. So I know my strengths. I can plan and I can put this baby together, but I need you to write the sales page copy. I need you to write the emails. I need you to write all of it. And she took it and she went with it. And then she threw in this program that she built, which was Summit Email Success. So it gave people the before, during, and after emails. So if you paid $69 or $99, whenever you bought it, if you bought our all access pass, just between our two products, we knew you were going to have like everything you needed to put together your virtual summit. So this really helped us out. Erica, tell me if I'm like running out of time. I could pretty much keep going. But this was our daily schedule. So at 8 a.m., we came in for a daily welcome. I always like to jump on first thing in the morning and like bring in the energy and like set the stage for the day, right? So I wanted to go live, and Liz encouraged me to do many more lives than I ever really thought I would be doing. So we went live a ton. So 8 a.m., me and her jumped on, we did a welcome, we did housekeeping, and then we got straight into a topic. Okay, we're good on time. So we got straight into a topic. So what I don't like to see is when people come on in the morning and they just do like a little, and I've done this myself, This is how I started these, where you do just a little like 15-minute live session and then there's a gap. So we were like, no, we're going to have to go like a good 40 minutes. That way, we're not giving people too much time in between to go find something else to do, right? Like, we wanted to keep your attention. So we were like, we are going to double down and make these sessions like really targeted. Like, they're not just catch up sessions, these are actual parts of the event. So we did, one day we talked about co hosting. One day we did summit stories because I've done 14 events. Like, I have a lot of summit stories. She has done, I think, 7 events. So she's participated as a speaker. So she had a lot of summit stories to talk about. So we chose a different topic for each day, and it was detailed and it was a conversation, and people were asking a lot of questions. So we never really had that 15-minute gap that we were trying to give ourselves. We barely had time to go to the bathroom before the next one started. So 9 a.m., I took the stage each day with a live training, and it was like a piece of how you need to plan. Like, the first one I did was like the first 5 steps you need to plan your event. Then I can't remember the topics at this point, but the first one was the first 5 steps. So I would go live, and it was a training, and I had a whole PowerPoint, and they were supposed to be about 40 minutes, and then we were supposed to have some time. We got so many questions, these were going so far over. So that just let us know that people were very interested in the information. At 10 a.m., Liz was going live, Liz was going live 3 times during the event, right? So she was going to do one on email marketing before, during, and then after the event. So each time she went live, she taught you and talked to you about, what emails need to be included in your registration sequence. Like, how are you going to get people who have just registered for your event? How are you going to get them to show up on day 1? But more than that, how are you going to get them to upgrade to that pass? How are you going to keep them engaged? How are you going to get them into your Facebook group if you're trying to grow a Facebook group? So all of that was included. During the event email, she's talking about, hey, don't like bombard people with emails. 1 in the morning, 1 in the afternoon is going to be more than enough. Here's what you need to put into it. So it was really thoughtful training. She went to a little mind work and a little, what was it, like sales tactics and stuff like that. So that was great. And then we had Ben from Hey Summit, another piece of the partnership, right? So you have to make it worth it for your partner. We had him do 4 live hour-long tutorials on how to use Hey Summit. So these were very well received because I could sit here and tell you how to use Hey Summit. I've used it for years. I could tell you how to use it, but I didn't create it. So having the creator, the founder of this program come in and walk you through exactly how to use his program. I mean, I was learning things. I was like, wow, because Hey, someone's always rolling out with new stuff. So it's like, wow, this is really helpful. This is really helpful. So he had his own little crew that showed up each and every time he went live. And I mean, I just thought it was amazing. 11 a.m. we did a panel, which was a good time, I think, for a panel. So it kind of like broke up the day. Sometimes I'll do 2 panels in an event, guys. Sometimes I just go all out. But this one, I was like, you know what? I'm going live quite a bit here. So I'm just going to do 1 panel. We had a bunch of different speakers get on and just walk through a topic. Like, one day we did the good, bad, and the ugly. So we were just sharing stories of like what could happen, what goes on behind the scenes, things that we want, people to be aware of, or things that we want to celebrate, or big wins, and like all this stuff. So those are really helpful. And panels are a great way to add another like piece of like engagement, right, to your event. Because yeah, some of these, like, we did lives in the morning, but not all my events are structured like that. Sometimes it's just a pre-recorded session, and people, you're not going to have as many people tune in for the pre-recorded because they can catch those anytime. It's the live elements that really add like a little bit of flair to your event. And if you can get people chatting in the chat box, more power to you. Like, do it as many times as you're comfortable doing it. We did it a ton during this event. So we did the panel, and then we did we did a mix of like main stage and breakouts. Breakouts, we just had 2 sessions going at the same time. That way people had a choice. And for any sessions that were pre-recorded, which everything from about 12, everything at 12 and 1 was pre-recorded, but we had the live chat box there. So we had speakers who were right there with you. Like, if we're starting your session at 12 o'clock, the speaker was in there at 12 o'clock. You could talk to them. If they mentioned something in their session, you could you could just ask them about it. So that was a key piece. This just shows we just showed a variety of our speakers. And extra one thing that we did extra was a bonus session for all access pass holders. So if you upgraded, like if you took us up on that 69 or 99 or whatever you bought, we invited you to what we called a wind down session. And this was like networking and like just engaging with other collaborators who were interested in like building their audience, right? And we knew people would be interested in building their audience because that's who we were talking to. That was the audience for this event. Like we told you, we're going to help you build your audience, grow your, expertise or your authority, and put some money in the bank. So we had a signature like drink. You don't have to do that, but we had a signature drink. I always have a signature drink. If I'm doing a networking, there's going to be a signature cocktail. We just created little cute names, and people came with their drinks, and we had a great time. So Erica had asked me about finding speakers, and I mentioned that I did have Hey Summit send out a an email that said like, "Hey, we're sponsoring this great event. Like, if you're interested in speaking, on these topics, because we had specific topics we were really looking for." They sent that out, and it helped us. Usually, I don't have that, and I head to social. Right? I head to social and I start with the keywords. I look in all the groups. I'm searching those keywords. I'm typing in the search box. I'm finding everyone and anyone who relates to these topics. I do search the Hey Summit directory. There's other speaker directories as well. I just signed up for one. I can't remember what it's called. Maybe Virtual Summit Search. Don't quote me on that, but that could be it. And then we did internet searches, right? You just type it in, like branding for virtual events. See who comes up. And if they are, interested in speaking, that would be a great. Like, first of all, you probably found them on the first place of Google. That means they got some great killer SEO going on, so they know their stuff. Check out their pages and do your research. And then I also had recommendations from my co-host. And another question Erica asked was, how did I get my speakers to like? How did I give them direction, and how did I get them to like participate? And this is like a huge part of the equation, right, guys? Because your virtual summit, if you think about it, is really only two pieces. You have video sessions and you have speakers. Video sessions, speakers. Put those together, you got a virtual summit, and that's it. All this other stuff is really just extra flair. You're adding to it. You're adding to it. And so we wanted to give our virtual summit speakers a place they could go that had everything. And I wish I had included a slide on this, but I call it my speaker home base. I call it my speaker home base. It is a full-on website where speakers can go. You come in, it's got, a big header, everything's branded, right? Like they know this is the summit home base for Teach Me How to Summit because it's blue and purple and pink and all of this, right? So it has like their to-do list on it. It's got automation that like if you click this button, you're going to scroll down to this part of the page because the button that you clicked said you were interested in your speaker to-do list. So boop, we're going to put you down here. And this button over here said, oh, I clicked that one and it said I just needed the swipe copy, right? So I just want to go boop down here to where I have all these graphics. So these are some of the graphics that we had for our speakers. We tried to give them everything they needed to promote the event. So there was no excuse, no reason beyond maybe you didn't have time. Maybe you forgot. If it was a reason, it was your reason. It wasn't our reason because we gave you swipe copy. We gave you social posts that you could just pop up, like literally just copy and paste and pop them up. We gave you a variety of graphics. We did, like just square graphics that they could use. Some of them said link in bio. Other ones said don't miss my session. So you could put the link in your bio, and when they click, it was all there. We had group graphics. We had graphics for each session by itself. And then we did, pre-made reels, and we had story graphics. And I mean, we gave them anything and everything we could think of that would help them help us, right? Because in the end, it's helping all of us because the more people you can refer, first of all, they're tagged by your affiliate link. We do a 50%, like straight down the middle. You're getting 50% of every person you send over who buys a ticket. So that's a huge incentive for the speaker. But every person you send over, you're getting money. They're going to, be part of the event. And everyone wins. Everyone wins in that in that instance, because maybe you're not able to catch their email, from a social post. But once they get over here and they sign up for our free ticket, which comes with a virtual swag bag, and then you have something in that virtual swag bag, it's just a continuous funnel, like step by step by step. And if you can think about like what that next step is for your attendee, for your speaker, for your sponsor, for yourself, then I mean, this is going to be huge for you. Um, Erica also asked how long it takes to plan a virtual summit. It takes 90 days. And I think I just told my husband, right? Because I do so many of these, I really stick to 90 days. Sometimes it's less. I was like, I feel like we just need more people on the team. And then maybe we could step away a little bit more or spread them out. You could take up to like probably, I don't know if I would go 6 months, but maybe 4 or 5. So I usually do them in 3, but you could do like 4 or 5 months. And if you have other launches going on, I think that makes complete sense. My mother is also an entrepreneur, and this whole thing, this whole idea of Teach Me How to Summit came from a conversation that I had with her. Oh, I love that. Thank you so much. I love that. Okay. Sorry, you threw me off with that beautiful comment. So yeah, this whole idea for Teach Me How to Summit, right, came from a conversation with my mother, who I got the entrepreneurial bug from, who is currently still an entrepreneur. She's kind of young. So anyway, she's still an entrepreneur, right? And she had this idea and she's building like this content library. And she was like, how am I going to launch it? And I was like, hello, like, you always, maybe y'all have this problem as well, but like, you ever feel like your family never knows what you do as an entrepreneur? Like they can't describe what you do. So I'm like, hello, what do you mean how you're going to launch it? You're going to launch it with a virtual summit. Like, of course, like that's perfect. So she's like, what? So we go into, sharing my screen. I'm showing her like, Mom, look, I have this to-do list. Just drop your date in here. I'll give you this copy, give you a copy, whatever. You drop your date in here. It's going to populate all these dates for you. It's going to tell you exactly to do when. You don't need to call me. We don't need to do any, follow-up phone calls because it's right here. Like it's very detailed and it's very outlined. So it's going to really guide you through what you need to do. She was like, what? And then I show her the Airtable base, and she just made a comment. She was like, you need to teach this. You need to teach people how to do these summits. And I was like, what? And boom, the idea for Teach Me How to Summit was born, like literally right there in that conversation. Like, did she know there was a Dougie song? I don't know. She probably know now, but it doesn't matter. She gave me the idea. And she was like, you need to be teaching this. She was like, do you have this for sale? And I was like, no, I don't. I use this. This is what I use to plan my summits. And she was like, why are you not teaching this? I was like, I have no idea. I'm going to do it right now. So I just started working from that moment to put this together. But okay, I'm going to wrap this up. I'm sorry, I'm taking up so much of y'all's time. Okay, so it takes 90 days, right? The first phase is going to be to plan. And sometimes, so this is when you're getting started, right? You're making big decisions right here. You're going to, decide how many days your summit is. This is when you're going to be doing a lot of research. You're going to be looking up sponsors. You're going to be doing a lot of research in here. Like how much is it going to be to, offer transcriptions? Does Vimeo really what is it, have closed captions on your videos? Like, should I use Vimeo over, YouTube because it does this? Or can I lock down my videos? This is your research phase. I will say that some of the times, and I've split it up in my project plan now, I do a plan 1 and a plan 2. And I drop plan 2 below the pitch because I drop plan 2 below another line in here if you're going to partner with someone. So a big piece of this is if you're going to partner with someone, you can only do but so much of the work ahead of time, right? And there is certain tasks that you need to do ahead of time to get yourself ready for a co-hosting situation. So I will say that. But in general, if you're just doing it by yourself and you have a team, you're good, then you're just going to do your planning, right? You're going to go through, your planning steps. And this is outlined in my my starter kit. So it's broken down into these segments. Like plan has, maybe, I don't know, 75 steps. So go through those 75 steps and get your planning done. Then you're ready to pitch. You've already researched your speakers. You know what topics they want to speak about. You went to their website, right? You know what their social count is. You know what freebies they offer on their website. You know what their products are and which ones are going to resonate with the audience that you've outlined. So you know who you're ready to pitch. Well, this is the stage. You edit your pitch template. You get to pitching. You recruit your speakers. Then you're going to go into like a prepare stage, right? You're starting to prepare the actual pieces for the event. So you're going to be making your your website. You're going to be making all the brand templates and all the graphics and getting, all these pieces loaded so that your speakers, by the time we hit the next stage, are going to be able to use them. Like you want everything to be like real seamless. It needs to seem very smooth to the outside person looking in, even if it's crazy behind the scenes, right? Like that's what I always tell myself. Like even if I'm going crazy because something is not gelling for this particular event, I don't want the speakers to see that. And that's why they get the speaker home base. Like everything is right there. I have a sequence of emails that goes out to speakers that guides them through, right? Like that checklist that I have, the speaker welcome sequence and management sequence correlates to their to-do list. So I'm going to let you know. Yeah, I'm going to let you know that your intake form is due on this date. If you filled it out, thank you so much. Here's your next step. If you haven't, please take 5 minutes right now and please fill that out so we can get your profile set up, and then we'll be ready to promote the website. When it's time to promote, I'm going to say, thanks everyone for filling out your intake forms, because you can assume by the time you're ready to promote, you should have gotten everyone's intake form by that point. It's time to promote. Don't forget to grab your swipe copy and your graphics. Let us know if there's any way that, we can help support you. If you want to go live, let me know. Like we'll go live. We just go through step by step, and you want to keep your speakers engaged, right? So maybe like once a week, check in with them, because you have a long span. Like they're in it for the ride. They're in it for the ride because you're pitching them so early on. There's like, 2 months, possibly more, depending on how much time you've given yourself for this event, to keep them engaged. The last thing you want is for your speakers to fall off. And I've had that before. And you can guarantee they're not going to show up for, their panel. They're not going to show up for the live chat box. And that's going to kill the vibe of the event, because maybe they have a very important session, or, even if, not a lot of people showed up for their session, someone did. And I want that someone to get the same experience as every other person who showed up and was able to speak to the speaker, ask a direct question. Like that's big for me. Okay, so then we're going to promote. You're going to tell the whole world about it. You're going to do some promotion. They're going to do some promotion. I love email, but I'm horrible on social. I'll just go ahead and say that. And then, produce is the stage where you're actually in the live event. So for me, that's like 5 days. 5 days, you are in it to win it. You are buckled down, mark it off on your calendar, because you're only going to have time for this event. And then present is like, are you launching something? Like for my mom, she was launching like a library after this. Okay, well, that's a whole nother piece. That's a whole nother piece. What are you launching after it? Is it the next step, right? Like we talked about this A to B route, this transformation that the person went through at your virtual summit. What is their next step after that? That should be what you're presenting. That's your offer at the end if they're interested in that. So 90 days, I think, is a good amount of time, but you could definitely, I don't want to say shorten, you could definitely make it a little bit longer depending on what you have. Like if you're going on a summer road trip, well, those months are out. Those months are out. So, you can kind of edit that to what you need. I also did a challenge after this, and this literally was something that came up from a session. Meg Barrage did a session, right? And it was on challenge. It was on like launching a challenge after a virtual summit. And I was like, you know what? I'm gonna try it. Like, so I just threw it up after, like, on day, what day was that? I think it was day 4 of the event when her session went live. I was like, because I don't watch, guys, I do not watch most of these before. Like, I'm going to check your video to make sure, it's good quality. It plays all the way to the end, like the end, I can see it. Like, I'm going to check little bits and pieces of it, but I don't watch them 100%. And, that's just part of it. I don't have time to watch 45 videos ahead of time. So that's another thing. You have to have confidence in your speakers that they're going to deliver a good session, especially if you're not going to watch them all like me. That's kind of a gamble, but it's paid off so far. So anyway, I saw her session and I was like, you know what? I'm going to try this. And I did. So, her numbers were spot on. She said, okay, you'll probably get like 10% of the people who signed up for your virtual summit to come into this virtual challenge, right? Because we had just spent 5 days together. And, I took the weekend off and like a couple extra days. And then I did this summit the next weekend. So I got like 126 people out of the 1,300 to sign up for this summit the challenge, which was only 3 days. And I kind of it was just like a little tester for me to see like, do I like this? Maybe. So Meg teaches it almost like a one man or one woman like virtual summit. And I was like, no, I'm not doing that. That's too much. I'm gonna just do one video and help people take action, right? Like you went through this whole 5 day event and you know what you need to know, but now I need you to take action if you're really going to do it. Like, come on, like just do it. So I told them, take this time that we're taking off, right? These 5 days that were in between the summit, the end of the summit and the challenge, take these 5 days and do these two things. Decide the topic for your summit and decide who you're talking to, like who is your audience, and then meet me back online on Friday. And we're going to go through a 3 day live training. And we are going to make sure that you have these steps set up because after you get these done, you're ready to sail. Like you're ready to sail. So I did 3 days. The first day, what did we walk through? Oh, we walked through like researching speakers and setting up sessions. And then at the last day, I got them to choose a date and like mark it on the calendar. Because once you mark it, like it's for real. If you're anything like me, once I put something in my calendar, it's happening. It's happening. I'm not going to mess up my beautiful planner by having to like use whiteout or scribble through it. Oh, I'm just like so just anal about that. So once you mark it on the calendar, it is real. Tell someone and you're going to do it. So I got 126 people to sign up. She said what, like 10% of those people would show up live, and that was correct. There was like between 12 and 15 people on daily with me live. And then she said between 3 to 5% of those 126 people would purchase your offer. And I was like, wow, this is so crazy. This lady definitely knows her numbers, and it worked. So, yeah, that was it for me. That was it for me. And I just thought, if I do teach me how to summit again, which I do plan to do it again, yeah, I'm still going to do the virtual challenge at the end. So before I let you guys go and stop talking, these are the 5 steps to getting started. These are the 5 steps. If you want to do your own virtual summit, like these are your steps. You're going to choose a topic. You're going to identify your audience. You're going to create a list of topics and a list of speakers. You're going to match those together because that's your event. And then you're just going to choose the dates and mark it on your calendar. So I just want to say thank you so much for, allowing me to sit and take up so much of your time today because, yeah, I could talk forever about this stuff. So hopefully this was helpful to you guys. Okay. Looks like Erica's coming back on.
Yeah. Eric also wants to come on too. Hold on just a second, Eric. I want to tell Sheree that's amazing. I've been doing summits for a while. I'm a big fan of Blue and Berry, but you made it seem so simple. They always talk about enrollment events, but when you talked about your own enrollment event, I feel like you made it simpler. You just made it just a little bit easier for me. And I want to say thank you, and I appreciate that. I got so many messages on my phone. I don't know why you guys didn't put this in the chat. Sheree would have wanted to know the stuff too, but they are inspired by you.
Oh,
So for them
wonderful.
who are messaging me on my phone, thank you for them too also.
Okay, I love that. I love to hear that. I mean, I think these are like, I don't know, the secret sauce to building business, right? Like the secret sauce. Like you're increasing your audience, like you're growing your email list for free. For free.
Yeah, fantastic. Oh, hold on a second here.
Oh, I didn't get a chance to
Eric
look.
is also in an awesome RV that is really nice because of the solar panels, in my personal opinion. But go ahead, Eric.
Sure, we've been doing. Can you hear me? We've been doing this for 5 years. 2018 full time off the grid, and virtual events has just been a huge part of our lives. My partner and I, and Erica. I mean, first and foremost, Erica and Sheree. I think that the audience needs to give these ladies some love and hit those hearts. You both are amazing. The world needs not just the virtual world, the in-person event world and the hybrid world needs more organizers like yourselves, for sure. And thank you for being here and doing this. I think. Oh, is that some? Oh, that's Erica's background. I think. I think that one of the and Sheree, you brought up some great points about this, about in integrating or promoting community within your events. And I think this is what's killing the virtual events industry coming out of the pandemic, is the fact that there are a lot of these type of events where there isn't that community aspect. It's about the speakers speaking and the attendees attending and the exhibitors doing their thing and everything. Whereas I love the idea of incentivizing, when you talked about, it's not just about your attendees, it's about your speakers. Incentivize it for them. You know, if there's a leaderboard for attendees and they're competing and stuff, why can't there be one for speakers? Why can't, you know, I think that's fantastic. So I just wanted to thank you. This was such a great presentation, and we hope to hear that Erica is going to have you back in doing these workshops. These are great. These panels.
I would love that. I would love that. And to your point, I've actually done that, and I spoke about this with one of our speakers, and it was incentivizing your speakers with prizes. So for one event, it was like, you know, whoever gets the most referrals is going to get, you know, this Visa gift card. Whoever gets the most conversions is going to get, you know, extra commission. Like, so now instead of 50%, now you're getting 60 or 70% commission. And there was just this whole prize structure. And it was great. Like, we had an amazing turnout. And I was like, why didn't I think about that for this one? You know? So I was like, you know, sometimes you just need to be reminded of things that you've done in the past, or, you know, go back to those. So yeah, thank you for bringing that up.
Jason's here. Hey, the storyteller.
How you doing, bro? Hey, Sheree, that was amazing. You know, I caught the tail end of it, and just in that little snippet, I was like, wow, this is inspiring. One of the things that I love, and you all were just talking about it, and that is when you allow all of your participants to get involved with it, because it does something else psychologically. Instead of them just showing up, because sometimes I think what happens is that speakers will just kind of show up to things as opposed to being a part of building the thing. And so then that means that there's not the same level of ownership and care being taken on the actual event. And when they can get involved at that level and they're bringing in their crowd, even when a speaker is highly talented and they're inspirational and all of that, if they're not bringing anything to the table other than their celebrity, they actually are taking away from the event. And even when they have a big draw per se, but if that draw is not something that they have, what's a good term for that? Okay, if the speaker only shows up and they don't bring other things to the table with that show up, then all they can do is just bring an audience. When they show up and they bring the other parts of them, what they do is they build the community.
Right.
So, yeah. And I think that when we give them an opportunity to do that, not only does that buy-in shift, but they start to take a lot more care of the event itself as their own, because it does become their own. Part of them is their own. So they're like, wait a minute, this is like an investment in time and energy. Let me put a little bit more into this. Let me not just get the swipe copy, but let me personalize those things as well so that I can get more people in.
And that's where the magic happens, right? Like, yes, we are going to provide you a swipe copy. And if you can do nothing else but post exactly what it says, then do that. Do that. But if you can tweak it, make it your own, and speak to your people in the way that they're used to being spoken to,
Right.
then that's where you're going to see the most benefit. And yeah, this is a virtual summit is a huge collaboration. It's I call it the ultimate collaboration. Like, not just for you, but for everyone. Like, so it's a community effort. It's a community effort. And when everyone does their part, that's when you see that it is hugely successful.
Yeah. And it's like you have like this mega swell, because now I bring in my connections, you bring in your connections, Erica brings in her connections, Eric brings in his connections, and then that grows everybody's community at once,
Yeah.
as opposed to
Cross
one person doing
pollination.
one. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
And it's very targeted.
Yeah.
So, I mean, as a speaker, yeah, sure, you could use the same opt-in that you use on your regular website, but if you take it one step further and have a specific landing page to where you can say like, okay, like these people from Teach Me How to Summit are going to go through this journey with me, then I think that's only going to help you in the end because you know exactly where those people came from, right? Now, whether you do that with a promo code or whatever, a new form, whatever. But if you take them on a specific journey and then somewhere down the line, like say like, 5 to 7 days into this, journey you're taking them on, like reference back to something that happened during the event. And they're going to be like, oh yeah, that's where I linked up with this person.
Mhm.
And it's like that nostalgia thing, like, oh, I do remember that this happened. Like, oh, that was great. She had an amazing session. So I love when speakers go the extra mile. But I'm happy if you
Yeah,
don't either. You just participate.
yeah, that's good stuff.
I have a question for Erica and Sheree on this too as well. It's very interesting. One of the most difficult things for a new organizer to do is to give up some of the event. You've got to give up some of the event in order to, you were talking, Sheree, about what was it, the whiteboard or something? You've got to keep everything neat, your planner and everything. And that's something that you do. But could you imagine having somebody come into there and writing something in there? You would just cringe, right? But with an
Oh,
event, if you're holding on to that, right, with the event and saying, no, only professional speakers, realizing that probably 90% of your audience are experts at the topic you're talking about. They have their own experiences that they can share. When was the point for both of you? When was the point in terms of doing this, in giving up? When did you give up, and how difficult was it for you to open it up to a bigger spectrum in terms of events to your success?
That's a good question. I don't know if there was ever a point. I think it just happens naturally, and you need to get comfortable with the fact that you are not going to be in 100% control of this, especially if you're not doing like the standard pre-recorded interview with every single speaker. Like I enjoy, first of all, for the variety, right? Like I don't want to go to an event and everything is just, it's not the Sheree show. I don't want to go to Sheree just doing, 45 presentations. I also don't want to go to 45 presentations that Sheree has pre-recorded an interview for. That's going to get old very quickly. So I encourage people, like, if you are able to come up with your own presentation, then go ahead and do that. Like that is your creative control. Like this is your area of genius. Like I trust you to go ahead and do that. Trust me, I did my research before I invited you to participate. I know you're going to give me something that's valuable. And I'm also very comfortable with not using it if you do not give me something that is valuable or that I find to be, not a good fit for the event. So I think that is giving them creative control, inviting them into your Facebook group. You don't know what people are going to say in there. They are them. They are going to engage in a way that is right for them or that feels authentic. You can't have this overarching control over what everyone is saying. You can only control you, and you've pulled these people together. You've done your job. Now you have to just let the magic happen and see where that goes.
Well, I'm not going to answer this question. I actually feel like we have given the the people who are watching the live stream too much. But I want to say Sheree is amazing. Hopefully you got that right away, that Sheree is amazing. And for her to come here and speak to us on this masterclass and give us more of her is still amazing. I thought she was brilliant with her layout design and how she does her presentation. And yes, if you had pre-recorded videos, I would watch that too, Sheree, because I think you're amazing.
Well, thank
So,
you.
Erica's favorite word is
Sheree,
brilliant. Brilliant
Brilliant.
is
yes,
your favorite word.
she's brilliant. Sheree, if you have any opt-ins, if you have any lead magnets, please offer that now, because I'm about to cut off the live stream and we're going to go to another session where it says, let's speak with Sheree. That
Okay.
way you can speak with all of us here.
Okay. Well, I'm going to offer you guys the same freebie that I offered in my virtual swag bag. So it's the 70-page virtual summit planner. Is going to walk you through those 5 steps that I just talked about, plus a little bit more. And yeah, I'll just do that.
Put it in the chat, please. If you guys click on that now, that's great. If not, I will copy paste it and put it in the resource link for all of us to come back to this later. So if you would please, let's leave the main stage and go to the section that says Let's Speak with Sheree. So
Okay.
thank you.
Bye, guys. Thank you.
Thank you.